Oh, that intro is hellified. I love it. Okay.
That's all Mimi's fault.
All right, Miss Miriam.
So good evening. Good evening. Good evening for those who are here, those who are coming. I want to welcome special friend, a treasured colleague, and one of my intellectual sparring partners, Dr. Shantella Sherman. We're here, only God knows what. We don't even know what we're going to be talking about today. But she's a historian. She's a eugenicist. Is that the right word?
Eugenics historian.
Eugenics historian. She's a founder and publisher of Acumen Magazine. She has been an editor at the Washington Times and other publications, right? Oh, Philadelphia Tribune?
Tribune. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're glad to have her. We are honored by her presence, and we say welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, as always.
Can you tell us a little about yourself?
Well, I'm a Washingtonian. I love all things truth, righteous. I love fighting the power intellectually. I think that the world, for the most part, is a thinking man's game. Yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes when we're lagging behind, it's because we haven't put the work in. So my job is to help folks put the work in. I'm trained to have a 30-year career as a journalist, and maybe about 12 years now as a historian. My doctorate is in African-American history, but medical history specifically. So dealing with things like Tuskegee, the American eugenics movement, which predates Hitler by about 100 years, folks. Please be clear on that. And just trying to work those things into the pop culture that we see today, some of the social policies that we see today, our laws, including housing, law enforcement, prison systems, school systems, and just how race in and of itself is defined and in some instances holds us hostage. So yeah, always willing to kind of drop down, jump up, as the case may be, and spread a little information.
Okay, well, thank you. I was thinking about some of the conversations we've had, and I was wondering if you could make some connections between what has happened, because for me, past is prologue for just about everything. Yeah. And that's another phrase, Shakespearean phrase, because I saw your post today about Shakespeare. And I mean, you look at 1919, 1921, and pretty much a lot of the things that were happening then are being, recreated. So could you talk a little about those connections and where we sit, where we are right now?
I think, and you're very right, what's past is prologue, and there's nothing new under the sun. I think that America goes through hot spots of what I call white tantrums. Mm-hmm. Wow. And so probably 100 years ago, so the timing is always a little odd, but roughly 100 years ago, you had race riots tearing up America.
Red Summer.
Yeah. Right. And Red Summer actually started 1916, 1917.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. And so, and again, it was the same type of thing, these pockets of unrest. Mob violence, white mob violence, that kind of spilled over and kept spilling over. You had a pandemic that took place during this exact same time. Yeah. You had a war that broke out at this exact same time. And you had global unrest at the exact same time. So you're talking about 100-year span with, it's like the trajectory almost went backward and then came forward. Mm-hmm. So I always say to people, how were you dealing with things then? And then how will you deal with them now? Because you don't have to recreate the wheel, but you do have to understand that, again, what is past is prologue. So how are you going to deal with this? There were Black men being snatched off the street and hung from trees. There were no social media platforms where you could see how the violence started off as one person challenging or just trying to intimidate a single Black person. Mm-hmm. And it escalating until you got entire neighborhoods or the police involved, and it turned into something that turned into a lynching or mob violence in the sense that entire towns were just completely wiped out. But that's what you're starting to see, that same type of energy is the same. Now, I always say, again, historically, look back and see what else was going on. Demographers, people who study birth and death rates, always give you a clear indication of where we are when we're talking. I don't say white supremacy, I always say white frailty or white insecurity, because it's not about superiority. It really is about white people feeling endangered in some type of way. And so they start to act in a real visceral way that turns into legislation and policy and craziness that go against the Constitution, their morals, their faith, everything else, because something feels as if their entire existence is under duress. And so what I started seeing then and now, probably about 2010, you start to see census records that said there was a white birth decline.
Yeah.
You started seeing things that said we now have a minority majority in a lot of spots all over the country.
Yeah.
You started to, at the same time that you're getting that information, talk about Black women specifically edging into spaces where there was once a glass ceiling, and they kept on banging that until they cracked it. And all of a sudden you're seeing them in executive spaces, and it's hard for people to handle. And so all of a sudden you see a mass rush to legislation that says things like, okay, we need to go into, let's say, DC, for instance, and clear out certain neighborhoods.
Yeah.
We need to start making housing so unaffordable that the average person who's sensible and Black and professional won't want to stay here. And so all of a sudden you have a drain. It's a brain drain. At the same time, you have just capsules of white people who are moving in, and you're saying it's gentrification. And I'm going, why did all of a sudden DC become a place where you had to be, and you start flushing out the teachers in the school system, and you start bringing in police officers from other places who don't know and haven't been around Black people. You start having all of these policies that are a direct reaction to the fact that you are no longer number one on the totem pole. All right. And so it literally starts to put Black bodies and brown bodies under duress. And so that is what you're seeing now. And so it'll start to pop out in different ways. But if that started in 2010, and now you get to this point with 10, 11 years down the line, and it's gotten to a point where it's gone from I'm angry and I can't tell why I'm angry to you actually saying the way you did, 100 years ago, white people actively going after Black people who aren't bothering them to quote unquote put them in their places, to manage them.
Like that dude that I think he's a master sergeant or something in South Carolina with that young man.
Yes.
Roughing him up and knocking his phone out of his hand. He got arrested for assault.
Oh yeah.
And and the thing that really blew my mind is that, well, it didn't blow my mind, but I was listening to his wife, and I was like, that they're the ones that get Black people killed, because the things that she was saying to egg on the husband to mess with this young man, and he kept his cool. Because if he was mad, to snatch his nuts and held on to it and then ran like hell. But he kept his cool. But you see, with social media, they had like 300 people there today in front of his house.
Well, and this is the Barrington. The whole thing with this is, you hit the nail right there on the head. His wife is saying things like, "I think that was the guy that was harassing little girl down the street." So as soon as you put a white female body in that space, this automatically it's like a hair trigger. It's like a catapult. Now this white man feels like he's protecting white womanhood. He's protecting the race at this point. So he feels like he has to go above and beyond. So it doesn't matter if she's lying. It doesn't matter what she's saying. She's in his ear. And it mimics also when you look at the Central Park situation. All you had to say was, it's a group of Black and brown men who rape and savaged and ravaged this white
jogger.
Right. And so it literally becomes, we must stand up and protect. And you start hearing, tar and feather. And all I kept thinking was, even with the Central Park situation, had it been anywhere else, and they could have gotten away with it. You're going to keep pushing this through the media, and you're going to keep getting people alarmed, and they're sitting on the edge of their seats and they're angry. Yeah. They would have stormed that jail
and taken them. Yeah.
and basically exacted judgment upon them, justice upon them in the same ways that they have for decades. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, you have to be really, really mindful and really, really careful when you start doing stuff like this, specifically because, you have a whole group of people who believe they're protecting whiteness.
Yeah.
They believe that they're protecting, the folks who are around them.
And the thing for me is that I keep on thinking about, because I've been doing a lot of reading going back to just after the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And you read about the complicity of the judges and the police officers and the people who are supposed to represent justice in terms of how they did lynching. I read something last night, and they said that they just snatched up a man and his wife, and the brutality. Yeah. They beat him, knocked out one of his eyes, fractured his skull. They cut off their fingers, he and his wife's fingers, as souvenirs. They cut off their ears as souvenirs. And in a lot of cases, they cut off the man's penis as well.
Yep. Yeah.
And these people call themselves Christians and human beings.
Well, see, and this is the thing, Barrington, the journalist in me does one thing, but the historian, if I were a drinker, I'd be an alcoholic right about now, because these records, folks believed they were doing the right thing. So they kept journals. They kept articles. They talked about the fact that they kept the souvenirs. And there's also a weird type of trope, that they used to have where during these lynchings, if they charred the body, they would take and consume bits and pieces of the people that they murdered.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, it was, and they're doing these ritualistic type of deals. You don't know what it is that they're really up to. You don't know what this means, and so some people say, it's connected to, in some parts of Spain, where if you kill a bull, you cut off the testicles or whatever, but you consume them because it's like consuming the power that are within. Right.
Yeah.
So it was some of that type of mentality in there as well. And so again, I always say, let's not talk about the victimization of African Americans to that extent. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about the person who killed and who consumed and who kept the souvenir. And I want to know about who these people are, because this is the thing, it's not enough for us to kind of go, oh, those are those, hokey dokey, racist white people down south, and they were backwards and playing the banjo and all this. And it's like, that's not the case. Mm-hmm. Were it simply that, then we wouldn't have had the types of issues that we were having. This was everywhere. And so recently you started hearing things on a eugenic scale, I would say eugenically speaking, that you actually had Klan membership among the students at most Ivy League colleges. You understand? So, they had chapters.
Was that the post that you sent that time?
Yes.
About Harvard?
Well, and I just posted that. They just found out, someone posted a photo of the chapter, I think it was a Yale or Harvard one, the chapter of the Ku Klux Klan that was physically among the students.
Mm-hmm. The students, yeah.
So it was like, right, you thinking about old white men who are, Southerners. You're talking about, Yale University, you're talking about Harvard, you're talking about Brown, you're talking about all this, and don't make it strictly a gender issue, because you had the women of the Ku Klux Klan, and you had young white women who were also on college campuses with their chapters of Klan membership. And so you have to understand that it goes across socioeconomic lines, it goes across all of these other things. Why? Because when you start talking about the belief that you could potentially disappear, that genetically you're not going to survive into the future. Mm-hmm. And then the people who are around you right now, for a lot of people, eugenics is this concept that the weak will overpower the strong at some point. They will outbreed them. They will outnumber them. So you have to start setting policy that's going to keep the bulk of the population in check. And so that's what you're starting to see. You've been seeing it for years. But like I said, you have these pockets in this country where it rises up and it becomes extremely evident.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes, how are we going to fix this? What are we going to do about it?
So the question, it always seems to me that when we talk about the African American body,
Mm-hmm.
that we're always a day late and a dollar goddamn short. So and it's funny because years ago, like 6-7 years ago, I'd be talking to people and saying, don't you see what they're doing? Don't you understand that they already have a knife cutting our throat and we're walking around acting as if everything is okay? Trying to get them to like us. I don't give a damn if they like us. I don't care if they like me.
Yeah.
Like Jackie Robinson said, they're gonna respect me.
Exactly.
That's all I care about. And folks seem to be, God, lost.
I think I think some folks are asleep at the wheel,
mm-hmm.
but I'd also think that there's a large body of us who stopped reading books, and we stopped having conversations with each other. And what we started doing was ingesting the news cycles that are coming up. And when these news cycles are literally, I'm not anti-social media, but I'm against the antisocialness of social media sometimes. And so what happens, my question to you would be, how many times did you see or have you seen in the last 30 days a clip of a police officer or some white person doing something to a black body, brown body, or other?
Yeah.
All right. At the same time, and it goes in the reverse too. So let me be clear. The video footage of the black man, Asian the Asian woman, or you're just seeing, what is it, World Star, where it's all of this stuff that you're ingesting, people fighting and angry and just animalistic and whatever it is they're doing. And I started asking people, why are you watching this? And they say, well, it's almost like you can't turn away. Of course you can. But what it does, for me, it's almost like a drug.
Yeah.
It's almost like saying, I know I need to get out here and fight certain things, but in the meantime, let me watch this. Yeah. You feel empowered by the fact that some white man in the store says something to a black guy and got beat up and knocked out. And you're like, yeah, so you feel like the fight is over. Yeah. Or the young man who's in his own neighborhood and the sergeant, comes up to him and says what he's saying and pushes him around. And then a couple of hours later, and it wasn't long, a couple of hours later, all of Columbia, South Carolina showed up. Right. And it was it was one photo of a guy laid out across the man's lawn, and it said, fuck your lawn.
Wow.
So, and so again, I got a good laugh off of it. It's like, okay, y'all are doing too much. And I just started laughing. I let it go. But I realized how many people, they were out there for roughly 10 to 12 hours outside that man's house.
They just needed to do something.
And there was video stream.
Yeah.
And there were photos the entire time. So who was sitting on porches? Yeah.
Did he come out?
The police came and got him out.
Oh, punk ass.
And they released a statement saying, and it was a lie. That was the other thing. Pay close attention to that. The police released a statement and said, we removed this man and his family because the crowd became violent and started to tear up the man's house. And it's like, no, they didn't. And the videos show, all the video that you see, no one ever touches that man's house. They don't spray paint. They don't kick the doors. But the police came and secured him and got him out. And then the police statement. So now the issue on hand, the official record says that they came and got him out.
Yeah.
And, they were trying to vandalize his house. Mm-hmm. So that means from here on out, when you get someone, in this space again, who seems quote unquote out of place.
Yeah.
Then you've now given them license and reason to have the police stop them. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, this, you got to be able to think it out.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to think it out.
When you look at all of the stuff that's going on with the Derek Chauvin trial, the recent murder of Dante, Breonna Taylor, Tony McDade, Ahmaud Arbery. Is it just I mean, how do you put that in historical context for somebody who might be trying to figure out what the hell's going on and what can I do about it?
First and foremost, you pay homage to the fact that you know their names.
Yeah.
Okay, because the reality again is that in this country, there's a long history of people going out and just not making it home.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, we have to be really, really clear about that. There are direct connections to people who are considered throwaway. And so there are a lot of people writing it
considered throwaway according to
throwaway. In other words, in eugenic terms, they're defective, they're poor.
Mm-hmm.
They're
black.
On the margins, they're disenfranchised, they're black, they're Spanish.
They're women.
Yeah. And if they're poor and they're women, the assumption is that if they're missing, they're prostitutes or they ran away or it's drug related. And so the police don't look for them. And then we don't have the necessary consciousness now to say anyone who doesn't make it home when they're supposed to, it's a group of us that's going to go look for them. You understand what I'm saying? The police have never looked for us.
Why is it so hard to do though? Because if a member of my family goes missing, I'm not waiting for the police to go look for them.
You know what? This is the thing. And again, my thing is white people are going to do what white people do. They can't be my concern. My concern needs to be how we defend and protect ourselves. That's it, right? That's where I am with this. So as an adult grown woman, when I leave the house, my mother knows where I'm going, when I intend to be back. I may even say, I'm going to head this way and then because it's important that we keep track of each other. When I think in terms right now, sometimes the street lights are on, and a couple of times I've gone through a neighborhood and been like, these are little kids out here. I don't see an adult anywhere. Okay. Understanding the history of this country, you don't ever leave your kids unattended. Mm-hmm. You don't leave them unattended with people that you know. And you damn sure don't leave them alone in an open space on a basketball court, understanding that somebody will find them or they'll come home. This isn't a day and age of the little rascals where your kids leave out in the morning and you see them at dinner time. Yeah. And you just assume that they're going to be all right. But they've been playing in the creek. They're all right.
It wasn't even when I was a child, we did that, and that was well beyond little rascals. Mom said, take your butt outside and make sure you get back home before the lights come on.
Exactly. You can't do that these days. And so my thing is, what's troubling me is that we're not having the reactions we need to have to certain things. Yeah. I hear folks all day long saying, I shouldn't have to tell you where I'm going. You have a cell phone. Where are you? Yeah. Right. I need to know. So now when the police say, okay, it's been 24 hours. How old is the person? We're not really looking for them. We need to wait 72 hours. The difference between 24 hours and 72
is a life.
Okay. And so it absolutely is. So my thing is, I'm watching stuff like The First 48. Mm-hmm. I'm watching these crime shows where it's literally like, if you haven't made it home when you're supposed to make it home, and as your parent or your best friend, I know you should have been there. The police are going to tell me they're not going to look. That's okay. But I need to be able to say, I know where you were going. I know who you were hanging out. We don't know. We're not being neighborly. Yeah. We're not being family at this point. Yep. So we're allowing this exploitive spirit of whiteness, of sexual depravity, of whatever it is that's going on to infiltrate these spaces. Why? Because we're not on our game like we're supposed to. Yeah. All right.
I want to take a moment for those who may just have joined us. We are here with the esteemed scholar and historian, Dr. Shantella Sherman. Thank you.
Thank you. I like every time you say that you start laughing.
I like the way he does it. I'm sorry, I'm talking off camera. I'll just add myself to the stream. I want to be eating in front of everyone. I've had a long day, but I love the road that you take us on, Shantella, or Dr. Sherman, because it is it is a necessary journey for us to take. We have to know what's going on. We have to my son gets mad at me when I tell him, when you land in Los Angeles or New York or leave this house, I need to know who you're going with, when you're coming back, when you're expected back. And he's always like, Mom, why are you trying to police
He's
me?
grown.
I'm so grown. I'm so this. I'm so that. It's not that. It's that if you are missing,
we need to know where to go.
Where you are. Exactly.
Your little stupid friends don't know if you're missing, and they don't know to call me. You know, I can't with all that. I go nuts, and it's my right. And this is the climate that we live in, and it's unfortunate, but I want you alive.
And that's the whole thing. I'm constantly saying to folks, Black Lives Matter within the race as well.
Yeah.
I am accountable to you, and I'm responsible for you. That's it. I don't even have to like you. Okay. Yeah. But if I see that, and again, I don't want to put too strong a point on this, but if I am standing on a street corner and I see that a cop is got his knee in your neck, in your back, and you saying you can't breathe, I think I'm going to take the risk of getting my ass kicked by getting him off of you. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? I can't have this video footage from 50 different phones.
Yeah. Watching the man die.
So it was literally like, my reaction was something totally different. Like, this man but he got his back turned over here. Somebody get him off.
Yeah.
But it's like somebody, I need you to react to this, because ineffective authority is no authority at all. This man becomes a thug. And then you expect the exact same system that let him stay there to now judge him and try him and put him in prison. And whatever the verdict comes back, it will not satisfy that a life has been taken. Another life has been taken.
Yeah. I it's interesting because I've been watching the trial for the final call and writing stories about it. And the first week, I cried a lot. Mm-hmm. Primarily because, the young lady who videotaped it, the 17, now 18-year-old, she said, every night I go to bed, I pray and I apologize to him for not doing something. And about 3 or 4 of the people that testified kept on saying, I wish we had done something. And I thought to myself, if I was there, they might fucking kill me. Because I'm thinking that I would want to push that motherfucker off of the dude, and then they beat me to death or whatever.
But you gotta try.
To just sit there and watch them do it and let these punk asses intimidate you not to do anything, it's like, oh my God.
And this is the thing. Again, Barrington, even that, and I always say I stream over to pop culture because I want you to understand that our trauma sometimes, every now and again, you get someone who hits it. Yeah. I am by no means a Spike Lee fan, but I'm going to tell you, darling, this was Radio Raheem all over again.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And so we have that Radio Raheem dynamic that didn't come from nowhere when Spike directed it. Mm-hmm. So we've been seeing that all along, and then we see it a little bit more. So it's not that Black people have a disregard or disrespect for authority. They have so much respect for authority that even when they see in their face blatantly, this is wrong, they feel compelled not to respond. Someone said, I called the police on the police to see if they come in and stop it. Right? I didn't feel like I could actually interrupt this. I didn't feel like I could stop this. So at some point, you can't keep saying the police were afraid.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid. The man was already handcuffed. It was like, why did you feel like that was okay? And then, you still have to have people, like you said, who have nightmares behind this.
Yeah.
The reality of it is, though, we go through something right now, which we have to really, really be careful about. It's that Black trauma porn. Okay.
Yeah. Them.
So
see, everyone's talking about these trauma tropes and these traumatizing shows. And for a person who works in television and grew up watching television, we watched trauma just like for 4 years, we experienced trauma. I experienced trauma every day.
Yep.
I heard that horrible voice on the radio or on television at any point in time. I was traumatized.
Yeah.
I was triggered. So we have watched them do things to us, from good times to to them.
Yeah.
And movies like
Get Out.
Get Out, where you need to go to a sunken place.
This is the thing.
I just don't even know. I mean, I need my Wakanda. I need somebody to go out there like Black Lightning and go light some people up.
And this is the thing.
Yeah.
The reason why it's called programming is just that, because it is programming you. All right. It's telling you what to think, feel, and how to experience what it is that you're seeing. And so here's the thing. If you can I'm reading again the psychological journals, but it's the journals from 100 years ago. And they're saying things like, if you could put a beat behind it, they'll hear the beat.
Yeah.
If you can sexualize it, they'll pay attention to the sex. Mm-hmm. If you can make them laugh about it when they should cry, and that's where the focus will go. All right. And Black people are only supposed to have 2 appetites:
sex and food.
Sex and food. So if you can, right. So you literally, when you're starting to see the violence is coupled with anything that's sexual. Okay. And so this is what young people are being fed. And by the way, it's what a lot of older people who think they're young have decided to take on. It's like, look, and I'm all for, I'm a Tina Turner fan. All right. But it's like, look, at some point she was still wearing a mini dress. She wasn't walking around with the crochet top on, and she wasn't twerking. So it's like, when you get, there's a line at some point where you're like, I need you to be grandma.
Yeah.
I need you to be mama. I need you to put your foot. And Black men, I need you to be able to, even if you side glance and be like, okay, those pants are awfully tight, I want somebody to be able to say, sweetheart, you really need to consider putting on something looser. You don't want men out here to look at you a certain way.
You know what's interesting?
I know you got the right, but just literally, Yeah.
You know what's interesting to me though? I keep on looking at the male-female dynamic in this country, but specifically with us, because I'm not even worried about that other stuff. And I keep on saying, we got to press reset. We got to find a way to, and when you talk about the psychological conditioning that we undergo every day, I despair, because you talk to people of any age, and the ideas of romance, love, courtship, marriage is some foreign shit that they picked up from somewhere else.
Well, and this is the thing, the bottom line is, years ago, I think it was Denise Nicholas, the actress who, piece of the actor, love her. All right.
Yeah.
She made a comment that we've stopped looking at each other. You stop looking at people holding hands, and you stop looking at how romance was shaped around you. You stop looking at tropes of manhood saying every day, Mr. So-and-so gets up at 4:00 in the morning to go drive that milk truck or that mail truck, or he's a fireman, or, I'm watching somebody build houses. I'm watching men do X. So right now, you don't have very many Black people to understand what Blackness is, even as they're trying to defend it. Because what it is that your grandfather did, which made him a man, what your grandmother did, which defined womanhood, you're not necessarily seeing it. Folks, stop pushing your kids out the house. I know that people say you want your house to yourself. You want your house to yourself. I get that. But your children are not there with you. When you get 18, you get out. And this is Shantella logic. All right. You're not gonna see this anywhere else, but watch this. All right. You're in a city, we're gonna use DC. If I decided I wanted to move out at 18, 19 years old and get a studio apartment, because that's all I'm going to be able to afford pretty much. All right. But if I go and get this apartment, I'm going to pay at least $1,500 to touch the walls. All right. That means I got to work in order to get that $1,500, plus probably pay gas, electric, this, that, and the other. So on average, I'm going to be pushing out $3,000 per month just so I'm not in the house with my mama or my daddy and I can have the freedom to have company. When we start talking about economics and pushing forward, you say family, this is the game plan when we're 10 years old, 11 years old. This is what I want you to do. Start banking that money. Start pushing stuff over to the side. You stay in this house until you got the down payment on your house. You understand what I'm saying? I don't care if it's a 2-bedroom apartment. You stay here until you're able to set up someplace else. And that way, this is wealth building. All right. This is stop pushing these kids out when all you're doing instead of that $3,000 staying in your house to benefit the things you need in the household needs, you giving it to the very white man you claim you hate.
But the thing, it's really interesting because we have this argument all the time because as Caribbean people,
we don't do that.
We don't do that. And we have people saying to us, like, how old are your children? 26 and 27 and 25 and 26. And they stay in your house?
Yeah.
Why are they staying in your house?
Yeah.
But the reality is,
thank you.
None of our children are working enough to go get an apartment and live a single life. So why would we push them out?
Look, we got hella children in this household.
We got a whole bunch of children in this household.
We got young people that know if you sleeping in your car, you can come and park your car in front of my house
and come inside and come sleep.
If you choose to sleep in your car, you're safe because I'll walk outside and have a talk with whatever cop is trying to bother you.
Which we've done before.
Which
we've done before.
But you have a key. You can come in. I don't care.
Thank you.
If you're here for some length of time, I want you to show me that you can pay something, $50 a week, make you $50 a week, and give it to me.
And take your ass to school. And take your ass to school.
Get an education. If I had a Mimi when I first came to Washington, D.C. in 1983, I wouldn't have been homeless. I wouldn't have been surfing couches. I wouldn't have been nearly raped 3 or 4 different times. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have been just trying to figure out where to be because I didn't have, I had too much pride to call home and be like, this isn't working out for me. Yeah. I need help.
Yeah, I need help. And we all need help at some point. My thing is, I heard somebody say one time, and it's rather derogatory, but it's true to some extent. You get a lot of gifts from men and women, you're dating or whatever.
Yeah.
Most of it's bullshit.
Yeah.
The only thing that you're going to get between the two of you that has intrinsic value are children.
Yeah.
Yep.
And somehow, by the time that kid gets to a point where they're walking, all of a sudden, there's this thing about, I can't wait till they out this house. Yeah. I can't wait till they leave here. This is the thing. You saying yourself, that word out there will kill them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And no matter what you've taught them, and I'm not saying hold on to them like this, but the Caribbean way is the Southern way. So in this country, we know better. Most Southerners, you stay in that house with your family until you got the down payment on a house, and then we're going to help you build that house up so that you're not having an exorbitant mortgage and all this other stuff. And you're going to still come back to this house and cut the grass because you don't separate from your family like that. You understand what I'm saying? I am still responsible for you. And so that's why I'm saying, if we're not responsible for each other inside our houses, how are we expecting to be responsible for the stranger who's getting chased down by the cop?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like one of the other rules is if there are parents who have kids and they're not together, when the first day of school comes, I don't care if you hate each other. I don't care if every time you see each other, you think I'm going to strangle you.
Yeah.
That black man, that Latino man showing up at that school is the difference between how the teachers in that school, the administrators, deal with your child.
Yeah.
You ought to be there, and you need to be. I don't care if you got one suit jacket. You get up in there and you let them know that's my child. You look them, this is my name, and I need to know who you are. So if there's a problem, I'm coming to you.
Yeah.
Parents that go there, this is the other thing. I don't care again if you don't like each other. When it comes once a week, once a month, your parents need
just drop in.
Parents need to make a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that child needs to know they don't even like each other, but they're going to sacrifice being with each other to have dinner once a month for my sake. This is why your children are telling you what's going on in their lives. This is why they're relying on their friends. This is why they're in any and everything other than telling you where they're going and what it is that they're doing, and you have no clue. It's because you're not taking the time to say, I don't give a shit. What else is going on over here?
Yeah.
And your mother, I would like to strangle her every time I see her. And we're going to come in 2 separate cars, but we're going to sit here and have this meal. And we both going to let you know you're the most important thing to us, and da-da-da. You got to get back to a point where you understand, again, your children need to understand they are the most important thing to you, and they have value, so that once they are out here in the system, they're in the streets, they know anything come up, I'm getting ready to ring my daddy. That's what I was thinking. Homeboy with the drill sergeant, I wanted him to say, I was looking, hold on 1 second, let me call my daddy. He can take care of your bullshit.
You know what's funny?
Right.
I was working, I had come back from school. I had finished FSU, came back down to Miami.
Is my favorite story.
And my father, I don't know if it's that one. My father said he can get me a job because he was a warehouse manager, service merchandise. And he got me a job as an assistant manager trainee. And one day, the manager's secretary said to him, he got a bachelor's degree in journalism. And that dude dogged my ass every day. Why are you here? Why aren't you at a newspaper? You don't really need this job. And I was like, you need to get out my face. And he offered me a job. I was working in North Miami. He offered me a job in South Miami, which was like about 50 miles away, like 50 miles away, for $10 more a week. And I was like, that don't make no sense. So I called my dad, and I was 26, I think. I called my dad, and Dad said, Jesus Christ, give him the phone. And he just turned progressively red. And when he finished, he was like, well, why you need to call your dad? I said, because my dad is my confidant and my dad is my guide. And he was pissed. And I said, you need to understand that I don't give a shit whether you like the fact that I call my dad. I'm always going to call my dad. So you might as well get used to it.
And that's the way that's supposed to be. You know, literally that's the way. And so I'm looking at some of the comments here. Yes, Faith Nelson, white people know better than to send their kids out there like that. They don't. Donald kept his kids in there. And I always make the joke. I grew up watching Dallas, and I was cracking up laughing. These are billionaires.
Yeah.
But all these grown people and their wives and their kids in one house. Okay? That money's not going anywhere. You could have built another house on the property, but it was like, we're in this house. That's our room in this house.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you have to have, your kids need to understand that there's a safe zone in this world, and that is your house. Yeah. All right. And so now there are rules and responsibilities with that. No drugs coming here. No outsiders. You can't be having sex banging through the walls and stuff, because this is a right. Respect your parents' space.
I figure as long as I don't hear it, I don't care.
No, literally, no. Like I said, we just, just out of respectability.
Yeah.
All right. So it's just like, if that's where you are, take that to a hotel or whatever, but safe zone. You understand what I'm saying? And so I think if we get back to that, you'll start to see some of these other things that we're talking about, like there's no wealth building in Black communities.
Yeah.
I read something that actually said, and again, this was an internal document. This is a federal government internal document that said, when you have Black people who are trying to be upwardly mobile, and this is 1950, all right? These Black kids that are leaving the field and they're not picking and chopping the cotton and they're going someplace else, that's fine. What we're going to do is tax that child in Chicago or Detroit so much that they're going to be responsible not for one household, but two. So we're going to make sure that the sharecroppers, the domestics, these people don't get Social Security.
Yeah, yeah.
That's written into the law.
No, it just changed in 2015.
But I'm saying up until then, it was written into the law. So you're working the most hours. You're working the hardest in fields or whatever. You're the one group of people who have no benefits, no Social Security. So that means your child who just got a halfway decent job in a plant or as a professional now has to not only manage, right? They have to not only manage their household where they are, but they have to also manage you. That was set up as a racist design. And so literally the only thing you could do to challenge that would be, All right, well, granddad or dad or mom, you stay with me. We're gonna make this one household.
Yeah.
All right.
And
And then what we're gonna do is right, make sure it's a little space that got a garden. So
Yeah.
we're gonna grow our own food so we're not bothering with their stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you cut them out of the equation so they don't get your money.
I think that there, if I'm hearing correctly, I'm thinking that more people that I hear, or more, because I'm always earwigging. I'll go places and I'm listening to people to hear what they're saying and stuff. I think that there's a gradual realization, and particularly a realization among young people, that this whole goddamn system is a bunch of fuckery. And they are really looking, they're really, because if us as adults, if we as adults were smart, we'd be paying as much attention as we can to young people, because they have seen the bankruptcy and the moral depravity of what passes for society. They're looking for a different religion. They're looking for a different way to live. Mm-hmm. So if we are in a situation where we can offer some guidance or some substance, we could change this whole thing around.
Well, and you're very right. I think what ends up happening though, Barrington, is that again, as you buy into society rather than buying into what you know. All right. And so you buy into society, you got adults that feel like they're competing against their children.
Yeah.
You're competing with them or their grandchildren. And so, or their neighbors' kids or whatever the case might be. So instead of saying, I'm going to give you the benefit of my wisdom, but you're going to give me the benefit of the innovation, because this is a different time.
Yeah.
And so it's just, you have to marry the two and have respect across the board for both.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what I'm seeing is that each group wants to do it their way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so it's like going out to the homeless and saying, hey, you know, I bought y'all some shoes to wear and da-da-da. And they looking at you like, I don't need no damn shoes.
I need some socks.
No, what I need you to do is to ask me.
Yeah.
All right. Because chances are, I had a group of homeless people tell me, we have clothes. Look behind us. Mm-hmm. We have this. We don't need that. What do you need? Tell me what you need. What is it that I can do for you, if I can do anything? The man said, pray for me. Pray with me. And I said, well, I got that. You know, they literally said, we want to be outside. We want to be where we are. We're self-contained. The man pulled out, he said, I have money. We're good. We just don't want to be inside.
Yeah.
And I said, all right, well, I got the utmost respect for that. But it's that thing. The elders think they need to tell the young folks, and the young folks are saying, we got it and y'all messed up. And it's literally like, I need both of you to listen. I need you to stop for a minute.
What I love is when my young people, our young people, come and say, yeah, I got it. And then they'll come back, like Julian would come back in with that, Dad, can we talk? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I need some help. But I am glad that we had that type of relationship, that he felt okay to come to me to say that he needed help. Because I know kids who are floundering and they'd never call their parents, I guess because that's not the type of relationship they have, or they're too proud or whatever. That and that to me doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Pata, my brother.
I like that.
Ideas and concepts of empowerment to embrace personalities. The collective model has been defeated for doing your own thing. Yeah.
But listen again, and even that in and of itself in this country is not new. So again, when we start talking about, you know, the Great Migration, and you have the older folks who stayed behind, and you have these 16 to maybe 25-year-olds who left, and you get into these other cities, and you really have to, again, the identity formation that took place in your parents' home, you can scratch all through that, because now you're in a different place. And the rules that were there don't necessarily apply here. Yes, and it happened here. And it literally is like, okay, how are we supposed to do this? How are we supposed to navigate that? If you've taught them well, they'll always come back to what you said. You know, they'll start to understand it. And you pray that it, you know, they don't run into the wrong things in the meantime. But it's like you only need to train them up well enough that they go, oh, that's what Dad meant when he said, oh, that's what Mom meant when she said, you know, this, and this, and they get it. You understand what I'm saying? But you always have to compete with the next generation of vices and influences. You always have to compete with that. So again, it's nothing new, but it's just that at this point, it feels more like you would still have grandma and parents that would go to New York and saying, I'm going to find my kid. And they're knocking on doors saying, have you, no picture in hand, no cell phone. I'm looking for this person who came up here from this place. Can you tell me where they are? Have you seen them? I heard they might be here. Yeah. We got cell phones, Skypes and everything else, but we're not communicating.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. And so your children need to know that if they're under any type of duress or they're confused or they have questions, they don't need to ask anyone but you first. And you need to be open to learning new stuff so that you give them the proper answers or go find them for them.
That is so funny because I told Julian, I said, all of your friends are a bunch of fucking idiots. And I said, most of the stuff they tell you is a lie. So when you need to get information, come to me, because he'll say to me, how you know that? And I'm like, I'm 63 years old. I wasn't sitting down holding on to my front. I was going through experiences and things that more stuff than you've forgotten, I've forgotten that you'll never know. And it's really interesting because they have this image of us as if we came this way.
It was always funny.
We never learned.
Yeah.
Never had certain experiences. Because I'll talk to the young people, and because one of the things I really love is that Louis, our son, he'll bring his friends. He'll be like, you need to talk to my dad. You need to talk to my dad. And his friends will come over and we'll spend 2-3 hours talking. And I'm like, this is the shit that men do. And no, because they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know. If they're listening to some rap shit, that's not teaching them how to be a man.
Yeah.
And both of us, and I mean, Mimi loses her mind. Don't be disrespectful to women. Treat women with respect. If you choose not to do it, keep that shit outside. Don't bring it in here.
The same one that parks in the front, that somebody lives in his car. He came in here one night and Barrington was holding court with them, and he started calling women the B word. And I called him back because I was in here on this computer working in the middle of the night. And I told him up one side of him and down the other. I said, "You are in my house, you little Mickey." I said the other word start with M and F. I was like, you are not, after the kindness that I've shown you, whatever it is that you need to work out with your mama, you need to work it out. But don't you ever let me hear you say anything like that about women, because don't nobody want to be with you. Look at how you look. Stand up straight. Stop. Go brush your teeth.
Oh Lord,
wash your hair and make yourself presentable. Don't nobody want to give you, excuse my language, don't nobody want to give you no pussy because you look like that and you talking like that. So stop.
And see that, and again, it was necessary and it was needed. The reality of it, unfortunately, is that I often I get people when they start talking about relationships and black men and black women are having issues and blah blah blah. And I said, no, it's not. It's not so much that it's an external force, but it's an internal reality. And so what's happening is you're being told that black women are against you.
Yeah.
And black women are being told that black males, you just can't cut it. And so what happens, instead of it being something internal that you kind of work through, you make it public. And when you make it public, it becomes fodder for everyone else.
Yeah.
My point is this: I've never been through any other culture where I've heard a comedian who's Spanish, African, anything else,
talk about
on the stage and say, Spanish women, man, they do X, Y, and Z and blah, 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 blah. They never shut up. It's never that. But how many times have you heard a comedian and he telling jokes and he getting through it? Because black women, and black mothers do this, and black women, and it's like after a while, black women become the butt of the joke. Your only job and function, truly, as men, is protect the womb of the women that look like you. And so I've never heard a white man get up on a stage and say, because white women, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
They'll never do that. Why? They're going to put them up on a pedestal if they backwards, ridiculous. It doesn't matter. That's theirs.
Yeah.
And they making it clear to you, what it is. When I saw that man's wife, that sergeant's wife, I was like, man, you must be smoking dope.
Right.
You over here losing your mind about her.
Over that.
Yeah. Right. But it was like, and he knew that she was lying. It was like, you know what? this is in the heat of the night. It's all it is, this programming where it's like, I know you're lying. This is Rosewood all over again.
Yeah.
I know you're lying, but I have a responsibility as a white man to protect white womanhood. And even if I know it's deficient and backwards and derelict and lying and just savage, I'm going to go out here and do the wrong thing to protect your honor where there is none. And so it's like, okay, Black men have to get to a point where you hear somebody curse in front of a Black woman, hey, all right. You hear somebody, and these young guys. So you don't even know women, you know girls. So I'm really concerned at this point because you haven't even lived long enough to have had the experience of going through something and having a female that's not your mama or your aunt be there for you. All right. You have sexual relationships, but you've not had sensual relationships. You've not had intimate relationships. You don't have a woman who's holding your secrets, who's holding your hand, who's holding your head over the toilet while your dumb ass throw up. You're not having that.
Or holds you when you're most vulnerable and you tell her things that nobody else in the world knows.
Exactly. And so that's why I'm saying, if you can't trust her beyond her sex, then you might as well just hang out with some hookers and the strip club and do what you're doing.
You are right. It is a lack of trust.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've been saying for a while, as you know, because I still have foreign sensibilities and foreign eyes looking at this country, and I honestly believe that men in this country hate women.
Oh yeah, He-Man woman haters. Oh yeah,
they hate women.
Oh yeah.
And because the way that you see all of this play out, you couldn't love a woman and do the shit that these guys do to women. And I always joke about it and say, I think that most Republicans sleeping with little boys, just
probably
because because there's this war against women.
This is the thing. Again, eugenically speaking, white men had to make a choice. You're going to either side with whiteness and hold tight to your women, or you're going to side with maleness and partner up with Black men. And in every instance, nationally,
Black men?
Yeah.
Men?
Black men. I don't mean sexually. I mean socially.
Oh, okay.
In every instance where they've had to make a choice, white men have chosen manhood over whiteness. So be clear. Okay, so if it was the vote, who got enfranchised? Black men got the vote, but white women didn't.
Yeah.
All right. And then you saw a repeat of this when? Just recently with your elections.
Yeah.
All right. You had a choice between somebody saying, I'm going to choose a white female. So at least we got two white people running for office here. Well, I'm going to choose blackness and female. And you end up with Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
All right. So you're going to have, Barack Obama's out here and it's like, okay, who is he going to pick?
Yeah.
So you end up with manhood as opposed to Black people.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So whenever there's a choice like that, or you get a Black, if you have to choose gender over race, most people will almost always choose gender. All right. It's like, no, we don't want women to vote. We don't want women in these spaces, but you get affirmative action and what happens? I'd rather my wife come out of the house looking after our kids and take that job than to have a Black man get it and have to compete with him. All right.
I think, is it fair to say that much of what we're seeing in terms of mass incarceration, in terms of them basically keeping their foot and neck in Black people's neck, their foot and their knee in Black people's neck, I believe that a large part of what drives mass incarceration is taking away the competition that Black people would give white people out here. Is that a sound?
Oh, it's beyond sound. And I would say that it's not an economic competition, Barrington, it's a sexual competition.
Oh, see, I wasn't even thinking
this is again, right. Like I said, I don't care what we talk about. I will always end up getting right back to eugenics because this is about white annihilation. And see, this is the thing. If Frances Cress Welsing said this back in the 1970s, that woman, rest her soul, never had to write but one book.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Because truth, right, I was going to say, truth, supersedes itself. You just looking like, damn, and it's still true. And it's still the case. And so the truth is the truth. So it's like, okay, when you start talking people are not having babies. When white women do have babies, they have them with black and brown men.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not that the reproduction is slowing down.
Yeah.
Then you started having it's one of the stories that I'm working on right now, where they're talking about the fact that white men have stopped being able to reproduce. Period.
Yeah. They
All
said
right, and
low
it's environmental.
sperm count and all type of things, right?
Sperm count low, penis is shrinking.
Yeah.
And I could say something ignorant there, but I'm not going to do that. And
it's the truth.
You can say speak freely.
It is speak freely.
Well, I was going to say, we've heard that whole thing before, but it's like, okay, if it shrinks anymore, it's like that.
Yeah.
So this is the thing.
You're gonna $10 search party.
All right, Paul Mooney, send out the man with the microscope to go. All right, stop. Okay, so the point is that
You're having too much fun.
I know. What did he say? Send the man with the microscope and the tweezers to go find that man's penis that got thrown along the side of the road. But it's
right.
But this is a reality. So the doctors, I've dealt with a couple of stories where I'm talking to, the reproduction therapists over at Georgetown, and they're talking about, these white men and their sperm count, and penis is shrinking, sperm count low, and then the sperm that is there is derelict. It's running backwards.
What is
not doing what it's supposed to do. So they're saying some of it is environmental.
It's not happening to black people. Are we melanin protected?
I'd like to try and make it seem like black people are just, I believe that we're the first and we'll be the last. And so because of that, no matter what you try and do to disrupt this DNA, it's not going to happen.
It won't work. Yeah.
It won't happen. So what ends up happening with them, though, some of it is diet. So at one point, everybody decided they wanted to go soy.
Yeah, but soy has estrogen.
Well, most men, especially white men, didn't figure that in. And then there are a lot of products like crackers.
Yeah.
Ritz crackers and all these other things, potato chips that actually have soy or soybean as an additive.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you're not actually drinking soy milk or whatever. That's definite in the regular soy that you're cooking with. But as an additive, soy or soybean is in probably 90% of the things that you're consuming as processed food. Right. So it's like, all right, in the meantime.
Then, right?
Say again?
We better start growing our own food then, right?
Well, but this is the problem. And if you want to call it a problem, black men don't seem to be having that type of issue.
Oh, yeah, that's true too.
The Spanish men don't seem to be having that type of issue.
Yeah.
The Asian men don't seem to be having that type of. No one seems to be having that type of issue, except white males specifically. And so
that's the reason why they went up to the capital then, because they got a lot of.
It's a lot of things working in tandem.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's a lot of things working in tandem. So you actually had a flip recently where with the last census that said, demographically, white people are the only group that are shrinking.
Yeah.
Everybody else had growth.
Yeah. And I think we might have talked about it, but weren't you the one that told me that the fact that the Asian population has increased by 25% over the past 10 years is the reason why they're messing with them now?
It's 39%. Asian population increased by 39% in the last 10 years, and they've always been the model minority. Yeah. So they're the ones that are getting into Harvard and Yale. So even with your legacy, you can't just get in because that seat's already taken.
Mm-hmm.
And this person is dynamic. And so now you're buying your way into your universities. You're being outplaced. And so it's not just the coronavirus 19, COVID and all this stuff. It's not just that. All of a sudden, you're starting to look at Asians as problematic. You're looking at Hispanics as problematic. They're coming across this border. Now you're talking about everybody's a problem. And what happens? I'm not sure why they would do it other than just to push it. The white person who's saying, don't let them over here. But the fact that you would drop your kid over a wall and be, they're 5 and 8 years old. That is scary. But it was literally like, oh, you worried about DNA? I'm going to send them over there before they even hit puberty. And by the time they hit puberty, they're going to have you on the run. Okay. So, that's a reality.
It's funny because I left London in 1966 Went back in '83. Didn't really get around because it was my sister's funeral, so we didn't really get out. But when I was getting my master's in 2008, I had to go back for a week. And I'm walking around and I'm like, well, goddamn, all of these old racists must be turning in their grave because every white woman had a black child or a black boyfriend or a brown. I was like, what the hell?
Barrington, I think it was an absolutely fabulous episode where they said a mixed race baby was the fashion accessory of the decade.
Oh,
and
wow.
I fell over laughing. It was just like, and you just like, where did all of these people come from? I realized what it was. It was the white teenage girls there getting it in with the African, Jamaican, Pakistani, Hindu, you name it, other than the white boys that were there. And so all of a sudden you actually had, I just kept saying, I don't see anyone here, in these spaces that's not mixed race.
Yeah. It's amazing because when I was in London in the 60s, it was a whole different thing. and they were very clear. We don't want you gollywogs here. We don't want you Sambos here. You need to go back where you came from. Type of deal.
Well, and I'm going to tell you something else. And Barrington, the thing about it is the reverse also happened because it was enough black women there who ended up with British men.
Yeah.
I don't think the ratio was quite the same. But yeah, you ended up with that to some extent.
Yeah.
I had an aunt from Trinidad who met and married a soldier who was stationed in Trinidad, and he took her back to England, and we went to see them all the time. And there were several white British soldiers, more so than the Americans, that were bringing these women back from these islands and from Africa and different spaces, and Japan and the Philippines and all of these different places where they went to fight in this war. And they were, happy to bring these women back. And
this is the thing. I even said, we did a piece in Acumen Magazine about Red Summer and how Red Summer was actually an international phenomenon because you had soldiers, you had race riots that were breaking out in London and Cardiff, in Liverpool, and all of these ports areas where all of a sudden it was like these black soldiers were there with their British wives.
Yeah.
And the rule was, for the sake of peace, we're going to send the men off, but they would tell them, and you can go back. We're going to expatriate you. We're going to put you out. All right. We're going to repatriate you back to your country. And I think they gave them 40 pounds, maybe at the time. Right. And then told them, and you can go, we'll give you the 40 pounds if you leave your wife and kids here.
Oh, wow.
But they cannot go with you.
Did people take them up on the offer?
Most of them did.
Wow.
And so they said it was because it was to keep the peace. The men had to go one way or the other. Now, whether you got the money and so what ends up happening, you end up with the whole group of women now who have mixed race kids, and they would be, you can't sustain a lifestyle as a single mother. Yeah. So we'll take the kids and put them in an orphanage or a home.
Right.
So you start that whole process again of disenfranchising the kids, and then the records become sealed, so that child will not even know who the father is, except that he was black.
Yeah.
He was an African or Caribbean man, and he left.
Yeah.
I
saw a story like that in Germany, where they had all of these mixed race children. They kept the children, but refused the men and sent them back. They took the money and left. The same thing with the Amerasian, or even the soldier sired children, because I'm the youngest of 12, but I have like 14 siblings, and 5 of my mother's sons were from American soldiers.
Wow. Yeah, and you know, it's a really, really weird phenomenon where, you know, again, if it's the white men, they're allowed to take those women and those kids and bring them on in and legitimize the kids.
Yeah.
If it's the opposite, it's like, get out.
Yeah.
We're putting you out.
Mhm.
And in the meantime, it's something about taking control of the lives of those children.
Oh, no, aren't legitimized. Those kids, those half white kids, they get left in the island, and mama and the rest of the people got to deal with them.
Well, that's true too. That's true too. I guess the thing about it is they don't end up like it's a whole group called I Am Irish. And it's the because everybody's like, there are no black Irish. Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
but they're in Plainview, and a lot of them, they had Catholic churches that would, you know, they had whole asylums.
Take the children.
They would take the kids. And so the kids were there, and they talk about the brutality that the nuns and priests put them through.
I hate the Catholic Church. I was born and raised a Catholic. I hate those dirty sadists.
It's something, yeah. Just I looked at a lot of the stuff that, again, when I started talking eugenic studies, the belief was that because they were mixed race, that they were part of the devil. Yeah. And so I'm dealing right now with this concept of pre-Adamites, folks who. So some people say, how do you have racist church people, racist Christians?
Yeah.
Where their belief is, if you're going to talk about, you know, God and the origin of, you know, Adam and Eve, they would say, well, when God made Adam and Eve, that was white people. But the day before, when he made the beasts of the field, that was the black people.
Oh, wow.
All right. And so in that, this is what I'm teaching the students at Acumen. All right. You come to one of my lectures, I'm going to make you do some work. But this is the thing. Start looking at the original miscegenation laws, the laws against race mixing. And you will see that most of them list mixed race marriages as bestiality. Because one is a human
and one is a beast.
And the other's a beast. One is an animal. All right. And so you have.
So with that type of legacy and history, how does this country ever get out of the bullshit way that they deal with black people? It's pre-Adamite. Adam.
I'm trying to type this in. I'm trying to figure out where to type this.
Mimi.
I'll type it in.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's right.
Adamite.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, pre-Adamite.
Yeah. Pre-Adamites. And so you have a number of scholars who do a tremendous amount of work on the church today and pre-Adamite, the concept that pre-Adamites still exists. So Robert P. Jones, if you ever get his things, Robert P. Jones just did a book called The End of Whiteness. He did another book that deals with whites and Christianity, and it's like evangelical Christians they base everything they do on the concept of pre-Adamites.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And so I would encourage our listeners to also go find the book by Jonathan Wetzel.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Wetzel from Vanderbilt University, Dying from Whiteness.
From Whiteness.
Mimi and I went to a lecture.
How do you spell Wetzel?
W-E-T-L-Z. W-E-N-T-L-Z. No, W-E-T-L-Z. W-E-T-L-Z. And he said that he did a study, like maybe 1,200 white people all over the country. And they talked about their willingness to share, like access to a quality education, expansion of Medicare, access to quality housing. And these people said they prefer to die than allow Blacks, Latinos, Native Americans to share in what they consider to be theirs.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
Dying is D-Y.
That's theirs. That's theirs.
D-Y-N-G.
Oh.
It's literally the concept of manifest destiny gone haywire.
Yeah.
And the belief that within that bloodstream, the genetics for us being animalistic still reigns. And again, it goes into things like housing laws. So when you talk about redlining, it's written in that, you know. So I look at things like in 1901 when the city of Atlanta was being incorporated, and the builders and the markers decided, they had a meeting and it said no white person would be without anything. Even the worst white folks, the worst of the lot, would have to have more than any Negro that's in town. So you always, if you're in a southern space, you'll always see that white people are uphill and the black people are downhill and below a track, the railroad tracks. Okay.
Track. Yeah.
Right. The rationale for this is no one had indoor plumbing at this point. So it meant that your outhouses and your waste are flowing downhill, right? And it's impacting the soil, it's impacting the water and the wells, it's impacting all these,
the health of the people. Yeah.
So when you're running around saying that, you know, black people are predisposed to this, that, and the other, it's like you need to look at environmentally how these cities and for generations, these towns, how they were exposed to the runoff, the worst of. We talked about the fact that, oh, a lot of black people have asthma and issues like that. And I said, okay, if you're in the South, do you understand that if you're in a cotton field and you're picking cotton and they have a crop duster come through with the poison control, you know, to do what they do, they don't wait for you to leave the field. So you inhaled all of that. And so they said it was asthma. It could have been anything that was tearing up your lungs. So that's why I keep saying it is only by the grace of God
that we're here.
That black people are still here. All right. Because if it was down to the right. And so we can't keep saying they and the government. It has a name. These people have names.
Yeah.
And so my job is to go through the records and say it was Robert B. Smith. It was this person right here. And this is his grandson right here, who's still the town treasurer and doing this, and this.
There's a guy named Robert Moses who is famous for urban renewal, which really started with FDR. And in every goddamn city, every major city in this country that you go to, they run the interstate right through black communities.
And they run them through understanding that even as you start to have issues with exhaust and fumes and all these other things, you know, they used to have something called tuberculosis alley, right? And it's an area where they would have all these black people who are migrating up to Detroit and to different parts of Michigan and St. Louis and whatever. It's like you get them right there by the expressway, by the freeway. And so you're inhaling this stuff. And so your lungs are becoming more and more compromised. And then you turn around and put in a medical journal, black people are more predisposed and they have an innate, chance of having tuberculosis. And what you don't say is you have them in mildewed, rat-infested squalor. They're redlined. So even if they have the money, they cannot leave out of this area with threat of being arrested or harmed. And so they're stuck in this area if they're going to live here. And then they start to exhibit their bodies, are basically tortured and traumatized by being in spaces where it's just not safe or clean to be, And so those are things that we have to challenge even now.
Because even with the whole idea of redlining, every time that I pass a Bank of America and see black people waiting at the ATM, I want to take my car and run them over. Because if you understood the complicity of the Bank of America with redlining, with every time there was a study done in Philadelphia like maybe 2 years ago, where they would have black people go to try to get an apartment. No, I'm sorry, we ain't got no apartments.
Already rented.
And then a white person come and they get in. And also they also had another study where they would have a black and white person go to the bank to get a loan, and you had black people with better numbers, whatever that number is, and more money, and all different types of material things that should have made them be good candidates to get loans, and they told them no. And this one white girl who was a student with no assets, they were like, yeah, how much you want?
Yeah.
So that's why I say burn down the whole system, Rasta. It's not.
And this is the thing. And you get weak, Barrington. Every time we start having these conversations, you want the matches, all right? And I almost want to have a lighter fluid with you. I really do. But some of this,
burn that shit
the
down.
reality of it is, though, Barrington, we have to get to a point once again where we're relying on one another. So, like I know, again, that Caribbean sense of things, again, is that Southern sense of things, which is, we shouldn't be going to a bank anyway.
I know.
Unless it's a black bank
or do susu or something.
Right. So it's like you cut off the middleman and you don't even have to worry about this type of foolishness. And so so my thing is, we have to get to a point where we rebuild those systems because this other system is not working. You need to rebuild the systems that got us over from 1870 to 1970 when we bought into it. You understand? So we had a whole 100 years of just being beautiful. And if you built something, they burnt it down. You said, I'm going to go build something else over here. And I'm going to go do something else over here. And you kept moving. You didn't say, well, okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and give up. And I'm just going to go ahead over here to Bank America. And I'm going to go ahead and do this, and this.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear another black person tell me, oh, the school system is racist and they won't teach my child black history. It is not their job to teach your child your history. They're not going to do it. And if they do it, they're not going to do it right. So
when Julian was a baby, when he was real young, went to elementary school in Silver Spring, and the first day that we had moved, we got to his school late because of all the traffic and stuff in Silver Spring. And he came home and he said, "Dad, my teacher gave me a 0 for the math test that I missed because I came to school late." So I marched his ass to school the next day. I was like, here's the deal. You might be the secondary educator of my son. You're probably the tertiary. So he didn't walk to school. He didn't ride to school. I brought him to school, so it's my fault why he was late. When I come to pick him up this evening, I better have a replacement test for the test you gave him 0 for. She turned like 6 different colors red. Yeah. And you need to understand that anytime there's an issue, my ass gonna be down here.
Thank you. Right. And that's what, and the difference is, once again, when you have black men show up, it means something totally different to them. It literally resets all boundaries. And it's like, this child has a system behind them that we can't see. And so it's like, just your presence means more than most people understand. And again, it's written into the policies. It's written into things. And so that's what I'm saying. You all have to be able to take the time.
For the
when single mothers X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Single mothers X, Y, and Z. Woman come by herself X, Y, and Z. And they stop even asking, what's the father's name? What's the father's this? When the father shows up and it's like, oh, and he's with the mother there. And you notice how people kind of look like, well, isn't this strange?
Yeah, they're fucked up.
I don't even know what to do with this. Right. No, we come as a unit the same way. And all of a sudden you realize they're talking to you differently. They're talking to you and it becomes, everything is, yes, Mr. Salmon. Yes. And we want this. The whole tone changes. Right. And it's like, and if you ever have an issue, you call me. That's what, that's what you're telling them. And they literally start saying, oh no, your child is bright. Your child is not like the other kids.
Yeah, because
your child will be just like the other kids.
The crazy Mr. Salmon gonna drive his foot in their ass.
Your child could be the fire starter, but all of a sudden, because you're there, it's like, oh no, he's
student, right?
He's okay. Yeah, he's bright and he's innovative.
Yeah.
It's something different. You understand what I'm saying? And so we just have to get to a point where we understand, if your great grandparents did it and did it right with far less.
Yeah.
You need to pick those tools back up. And it means you take some of what they're giving you, you use it for what you need it for, you create something else that's necessary.
Yeah.
Right. But this thing of having kids go to college, and you go to college and then you come out and the first thing you say is, I need to get a job with someone. No, that school should have been teaching you how to create a job for yourself.
Do you know that when I was at FAMU, I went to the SBA small school, the School of Business, whatever. And I asked the dean, I said, I don't understand this. You have all these young minds that you're molding to be business titans, and all of them come out and they want a $100,000 job with Ford. as like auntie talking about entrepreneurship, and they looked at me like, you need to get away from here.
Right. Can you stop? Right. That's not what we're here for.
And I was like,
no.
What the hell? But
they're just building a workforce. Just quite honestly, they're just building a workforce. United Way, the I don't know, the Max of the world. Oh, go work at Facebook and go work at Google and go work everywhere. And I'm at you know, my son is a music artist and he's gotten plenty of 360 deals that he brings home to me, and he says, well, Mom, this kind of seems like they want to own every piece of me. And I say to them, yeah, can you rip it up, please?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
No.
They want his likeness. They want all of his music before he signed with them. They want control of all of his music. They want all of his music he produces after that for 10 years. I mean, it's garbage.
Let me tell you something, you know, and I will say it to this day. I know right now, Tina Turner's documentary is still running on HBO and all of that. And so y'all know I'm a Tina Turner fan. I'm right there with you. But I got to know Ike Turner for years before he died. And I love that man dearly. I consider him to be family. One thing he did teach me was a bit about the business end of music. And that's one of the few people. He didn't die broke. Yeah. Half of the rappers in California were using some part of Ike and Tina Turner song on something. He was still making money. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, if you don't understand the business itself, you crash. And I hate to keep seeing behind the music and behind the mic and this, and it's like every person has the exact same story.
Yeah.
You just get Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Right. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Right. Yeah. Bessie Smith's story, the Supreme story, these people's story, the Temptation story, these people, everyone is telling you the exact same thing. And yet
they still do it.
When your turn comes up and you get the contract, you look at it and go, wait a minute. They want an awful lot. And if you don't have to, and that's what I'm saying, when you teach your kids, they automatically say, wait a minute, something's wrong. And they know, okay, let me bring this to you so you can reinforce what I think this is saying. And then you can say, tear that up, because you're selling your soul.
Yeah.
All right. And you can't do it. Folks are making more money in the music industry off of dead singers right now.
Marvin Gaye.
They just released the whole thing and said this was a whole album that was missing from 1971, I think.
Missing?
And I bought it and I was like, oh, this is horrible. I don't think he finished it. I think you just, hooked me into buying it. Right. But it was just like, okay, where did you find this and how was it lost?
You do know that his library is completely still owned by the IRS for something like $100,000, and they've made millions off of it.
Oh yeah. This is I laughed at the fact that if you're streaming different things, there's a television show called Be Foreigners. Be Foreigners. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's set in Oslo.
Mm-hmm.
But its opening, its music is Bobby Blue Bland.
Really?
I said, how the hell did that happen? How did this happen? Are these people even speaking English? But you got Bobby Blue Bland as your lead in music. This is how your show opens every episode. So somebody got, I don't think Bobby Blue Bland getting that money.
Yeah.
So we just have to be cautious across the board about taking ownership of things that are ours, whether it's property, education, housing, whatever it is. We got to get back in and do the work that was done years ago.
And Pata said something that is very relevant. 134 black banks from 1880 to 1934. But I'm wondering, was it the Depression? Because if I remember correctly, there were more than 100 banks like in the 70s.
Yeah. And that's what you're saying. The Depression anchored a lot of things and it caused them to shutter down, but black people rebuilt them. So you're right. You still had more than 100 as we move forward. Yep. And you still had, black, what do you call them? Benevolent societies.
Yeah.
You had some folks who were working sometimes within different churches to create development companies. So they would start in DC specifically. They built, they got a bunch of property. You know, they took out mortgages and loans to get property, and then they built church-owned housing surrounding the church.
What's that church down on 7th? McCullough, Bishop McCullough's church.
Right. He has one. And then in the next block, First Rising, Mount Zion, they ended up with Gibson Plaza, which takes up an entire block and, a block long and a block deep.
Yeah.
And so all of them started doing the same things. And it's like, okay, the problem is as the churches started to kind of close and not do what they were supposed to be doing, the development of the property was put over into the hands of a development company. And you start having other issues, but you had all these people again who were like, okay, I can get my first apartment because I can't live inside the city because I can't afford it. And so again, we need to understand how business works sometimes in order to ensure that we're looking at housing and education and after school programs, and helping the homeless and whomever else. You can do that if you're looking at this from a business standpoint. And then kind of breaking it down from there. Even Black history lessons are sometimes taught in church basements at one point. Society meetings, part of Black church.
That's so interesting you said it, because I've been saying that there's so many things that Jewish people do that we need to do. We should be having Saturday schools.
Oh yeah.
To complement the non-education that our children are getting when they go to school Monday to Friday.
Okay, so here's the thing. All right. This is the challenge, and I put it out every time I hear Saturday school. All right. I've done this now in London, in Amsterdam, and now I'm gonna do it here. So you brought it up, so here it is.
Yeah.
If you all have educators that are within your groups, 6 months from now, I want you to tell me when the first day of Saturday school is so I can show up.
Okay.
Right? Because literally, you have one person that can teach business. You got one person that can teach history. You got one person that can teach, whatever. All right. You literally have folks that, and among you who can volunteer the time. Yeah. And then some other basic skills. I need to learn how to sew. Can somebody show me how to get this needle and thread right? I'm not above it.
Yeah. A carpenter or a plumber.
Some skilled electrician. You get me?
Here and watch something grow or learn how to grow something. I just planted some blueberries and some spinach and some cucumbers.
There it is. And that's why I said perfect. So 6 months from now, I don't care how you do it. If you're in your smaller groups, figure out who can teach what, figure out where the space will be, see how you can pull this together. But what keeps happening is that we meet, we talk it out, and then we go away from each other. And then when we meet again, we're talking about this again. And so I'm always like, look, I'm in here with you, but the rubber has to meet the road. Yeah. When I see you again, we need to be further up the street than we are right now. Yeah. All right. And so everybody is like, all right, Barrington knows, this at this point, that Mary, I want to say Mimi, I don't, Miriam, that if I'm doing history lectures, I will tell people, we're going to try and do this in a 2-hour time frame. But if you got questions and we're going to keep going, we'll keep going. And a lot of times we end up at that 3.5, 4-hour threshold where it's like the people come and say, we're closing the building, you got to get out, which tells me that people are hungry for knowledge.
Exactly.
Right. And as long as you want the knowledge, I'm here to put it in there. Acumen does volunteer. We're not charging people for these sessions. When we do, that money either goes to the Brixton Soup Kitchen. It's 2 lovely men over there in London who are trying to make sure, big ups to the guys.
Brixton,
the Brixton Soup Kitchen. They're out providing at this point 6,000 hot meals every day, strictly from volunteers and companies. And they're taking them to the people because under COVID, people can't come into the soup kitchen anymore. Yeah. So they're literally hand delivering them plus bags of groceries. So when we do take money and donations from you, it's going to them or it's going to Bread for the City here in DC. Mm-hmm. So it's like, everything, it has to be played forward. All right.
I interviewed the CEO for Bread for the City, George Jones. Beast.
All right.
Is a beast.
All right.
And of course, we were talking about the man behind you.
That's right.
Marion Barry. He was talking about the fact that much of what we have in this city is because of Marion Barry's vision, his hard work, and that type of stuff.
All right. Oh, and I see, say, Patel. All right. I want to call you Peter. All right, Patel. All right. Thank you for joining me. And anytime, this is a standing and open invitation. Anytime you want to do, something, with the Omegas for Saturday school, the children may not come unless they're pushed out. You understand what I'm saying? Because if it's not important to the parents, it's not important to the kids. Mm-hmm. The kids don't know the value in it. And so whatever that needs to happen, if you need me to do a session, you know how to get a hold of me. You find me, we do this. So I do them for a couple of folks. A guy who does Make Smart Cool, Anthony Tillman, photographer over at the Washington Informer. He has a reading club that meets once a week, and it's a group of mostly young Black boys. And it's like, okay, we did a Black history session. It's like, anything you want to know about Black history, start writing your questions down. I'm just going to sit here and answer whatever it is that you have. Mm-hmm. There are no silly questions. I do the same thing for adults, because as much as we rely on social media for a lot of things, social media sometimes gives you backwards, ridiculous Black history information. And it's like, we can't go out like this. All right. So if you have questions about Black history in general, about identity formation, about whiteness. I do whiteness studies. All right. You want to, somebody's like Meghan Markle, and they were concerned about a throwback baby, and they were trying to figure out if the baby would be dark or not with the royal family and all of this. It started a whole conversation, but it was one question. And it was like, I feel silly. The person said, I feel silly asking this. I was like, there's no silliness in this. Of course, and the concept of a throwback baby. And then I actually got Dr. Sophia Sparks on with me, who is a friend and virologist, scientist, NASA scientist out there in Texas. She got on with me and she was like, yeah, genetically, a throwback baby is absolutely possible. Every time you and your wife have sex, every genetic code from every ancestor you ever had has the potential of popping up. Mm-hmm. So if at any point there was a Black person in that whole genetic stream, yeah, you can always have a Black baby or a white baby.
Queen Charlotte.
Absolutely.
And all of the Portuguese monarchy.
Thank you.
And some of the Spanish monarchy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please, give me a break.
Not even just some of the Spanish monarchy. The Moors ruled Spain for 800 years. Yeah. Come on.
Exactly. And so you start saying, okay, where's the artwork? It's there or it was burned. Yeah. You gotta look in the basements of a lot of places to see what was snatched. And understand why it was snatched.
Yeah.
There's a whole community that I was going to bring up earlier about people burning down their places in Brazil. There was a whole escaped community called the Palmeiras, and Zumbi de Palmeiras started this place in the 1600s, and it was the size of Portugal. They would hide from the Dutch and the Portuguese that were fighting over Brazil. They would hide by burning down their entire village that was like buildings and a church and a whole 9 yards, and go deeper into the jungle and build a better, newer community, and save the people from being captured and re-enslaved. And that's a theme and a theory throughout all of Latin America.
You should be doing that now. Burn some shit down and go deeper into the interior.
Yeah, burn some stuff.
I'm not even an arsonist.
I don't know, Barry. Like I said, every time I talk to you, you got the fluid, and you're looking for me to have a match. So I don't know, but
I got a couple of lighters over here.
Yeah,
so
right.
We might be starting some shit.
But the thing for me is that I understand that the people that run this system is either fear or power or money that moves them. And I like the idea of them thinking, well, so and so is someone that we can talk to, but we can't talk to that nigga Barrington because he wants to burn some shit down. So I like the idea of them understanding that there's a choice. Mm-hmm. So they need to work with the one who isn't going to burn shit down.
Yeah, until they need somebody to actually
Until they
work
need
on
somebody
that.
to
So,
yeah,
well, and this is the thing. Again, that's the balance that's always been there.
yeah,
It's like if I can work within the system and we all play fair, and
yeah,
you don't bother me, and I don't, because you don't have to like me, but don't try and harm me.
yeah,
So I think that's where it is. I think that's where the average Black person is. That's where the average person as an American is. Just don't try and harm me. You don't have to live next door to me. You don't have to be in my house. Let's see if we can be fair and there be some parity and some equity and equality within this space.
yeah.
But what tends to happen is that one person feels that, again, like you said, if I have to see a Black person or a Spanish person or somebody else who doesn't look like me do well, I'd rather no one have anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that we need to really,
That is so horrible. That is so horrible. That zero sum foolishness. That if Shantella gets $1, that's $1 that I should have gotten that I ain't get. That's some sick thinking, man.
It's some sick thinking, and again, unfortunately, it's become part of the American way. So that's that. I don't even put that on whiteness anymore. That's us as well. And it's literally like, look, we've never had more Black people in this country making as much money as they are.
Mm-hmm.
However, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, we are bordering on the bankrupt.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it. We are bordering on the bankrupt. And so it's like something has to give. So if you tell me you'd rather spend $3,000 on, a pair of shoes.
Shoes. Yeah.
Yeah. If you rather spend $3,000 on something silly, and then it becomes, the child needs a laptop and we got to do X, Y, and Z. And the first thing you do is call me saying, we're behind the digital divide. You start giving me term, we're behind the digital divide, and it's like, you got enough money, to pull a substation together. I'm not even hearing what you're saying right now. So it's like, we just have to get to a point where we stop listening to other people tell us what we need. And we just got to own that. If it means you walking around in last year's clothes, and maybe that's what this whole COVID thing was really about. You're going to work with what you got.
Yeah.
No more, no less. And then any money that you save in the last year, what have you put, if you're still working, and thank God if you have been, what are you putting that money towards?
Yeah.
What have you saved towards? How are things better now? What does your savings account look like? What does your investment look like? And the investment sometimes is in the children. It's my mother always says, I wish I purchased a house years ago you all could run around and And it was like, no, your investment instead went into your children themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that money, and I'm glad you gave it to me rather than putting it, into the foundation of a house, which at this point we may not even own.
Yeah.
You can't take the information from my mind now. Mm-hmm. So I'm good. All right. Yeah. My brother is an attorney. We're good. Yeah. All right. The foundation, the investment was put into the children. So my question to a lot of folks is, what is the value of the young people around you? What is the value of the elders who are around you? So even when we start talking, somebody was like, we're going to talk about voter suppression and some other things. Hey, look, voter suppression to me is you not doing, they hit the ball over to your side and you let it go into the woods. Mm. All right. We've been fighting voter suppression since we got the franchise in the first place. So you're literally looking like from literacy tests to poll taxes to trying to burn your house down. Fannie Lou Hamer told you, okay, we're getting thrown off the land. We may get arrested. We may get beat up. There was always something, but if I got to put you on my back, carry you to the polls, we going. So when I start hearing, okay, now they're coming out with new rules and regulations for how you're going to vote coming up. All I keep thinking is, so what are you all going to do in the next 2 to 4 years to ensure that every law that they put on the books, they can put them on the books, but what are you going to do to counter it? Mm-hmm. What are you going to do to ensure that every prisoner
can vote?
Yeah. Right. What are you going to do to make sure that folks who are in rural areas and don't have a vehicle can get where they need to go to vote? All right. So we're going to have to do it.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Completely. I just thought about Jackson with the water situation. Has that been resolved?
No.
Wow.
No. And it's just like it's just like with Flint. It's still going on. You have to have, and you have to have municipalities where, this is the other thing. You can't just say we're going to get somebody in who looks like us and that's going to solve the issue. they have to be learned, and they have to be able to understand that if you have a failing water system, you need to be working on fixing the failing water system. Barrington, you did a whole series for Acumen some time ago that talked about the fact that the infrastructure of this nation is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we have bridges that are falling apart. We have
railroads that are gone sideways. Yeah, it's crazy.
So this is the thing you used to have, and I don't want them to necessarily bring this back. Please understand that. But you used to have the prisoner workers. So you bring them out. They did the roads and the infrastructure. They knew how to lay the tar. They knew how to do the work on the bridges. And so even though technically it was considered free labor, it's like if you don't have the money, you're going to have to find something. What you would need to do, though, in my estimation, is make sure that these men are degreed, that they are paid even though they are imprisoned, and that when they get out of that prison, they're able to work for the city to maintain the bridges and the other infrastructure that they pull together. Let's be fair, because people don't go to jail and stay there. At some point, they have to come out. And so in order to make sure that there isn't this recidivism or they're isolated, you need to make sure that if they do the work, this ain't the chain gang. So if they do the work, you need to pay them, and you need to, because they have families to support even though they're in jail. All right, so make that work.
Do you think that coronavirus has been a sufficient enough kick in the ass for Americans to change substantially?
No.
Nope. Nah, we're hard-headed. We're hard-headed. And to be quite frank, and just, we're assholes. I mean, it's no other way again. We're just assholes. So let's be everybody said, let me run and go take a shot so I can hurry up and get back outside and drink. And let me hurry up and so I can go do what? You can get ready. So something like take care of yourself, go home, drink plenty of water, try and live better. You could potentially lose your housing, and it didn't do enough to make you reset. It made you think. It made a lot of people stop. All right. But the vast majority of people, did you see any of the buildings in the development stop in the city?
No, just kept on.
Not at all.
No, not at all. Have you seen anything that said we're going to stop evictions, and not just a moratorium, but you're just going to have to cancel that debt? Did you see it? No. Did you see anything that said if you owe student loans, we're just going to let's cut it. Don't worry about it. Okay. Didn't see it. You're not going to see it. Okay. And so did you see anybody say, yeah, I know you may be appreciative for $1,400 today, but if your rent is $3,000 a month, that $1,400 is not really going to do you any good. So what we're going to do instead is ensure that every American, because you are an American, gets, $1,400 a week.
But that's what is happening in Europe. Americans always have shit to say about Europe. But in Germany and those places, you're getting $1,600 a week.
Barrington, the difference is in most of those places, you have a handful of people who don't look white.
Yeah.
Here, again, since we're majority minority,
they ain't trying to do.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna love the day when you take that broad shot, that panoramic shot of Congress and the Senate, and you look, and it doesn't look like an old Klan meeting.
Yeah.
All right. All I see is old white men with white hair
who want to die in their seat. They ain't trying to give up shit.
And they will watch it burn.
Yeah.
You talking about watching it burn? They will turn this country on its side before they give an inch about any of this. And so Trump, that's what I said. Why are we revisiting voting rights?
Yeah.
Because the person I wanted to win didn't win. So now we're going to go through here and start saying, I can't give you a bottle of water if you standing in the line. Man, come on with the dumb stuff. Come on, just
you know what someone said? All LeBron has to do is bring a truck with food and water. They ain't gonna fuck with him.
What they'll do is find some other way of saying that the votes don't count, or like I said, it's the foolishness of it. So this is the thing. You have to learn how to be gracious when you lose, because it's still one nation.
But if they're 70 years old and they ain't gotten it yet, they ain't gonna get it.
Well, this is my thing. This is the thing. I say if you insist on making this an uphill battle, then I should insist on riding your back.
You goddamn right.
While we go. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not gonna make this easy for you. If you I'm gonna buckle your knees and your back. All right. But you can best believe, and that's what I'm saying. Black people don't seem to have the fight in them that they used to. Oh, so you're gonna do that? Then we're gonna do this. If that's your move, this is our counter move.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is, why y'all keep doing this to us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is what they do. This is how it works.
Yeah.
Tell me when they didn't do. Tell me when this was not a part of the program somewhere.
Yeah.
And so again, just because social media is making it so that you're seeing this and you see the names and you see the actual footage does not mean that this has not been the case all along. Yeah. Okay. So don't start saying what's going on. It's 2021. So
yeah.
The question is, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
And if you don't know what to do, go back to some of these, go get your DC Public Library card or your Maryland Library card and go into their archives and look at some of these old Black newspapers when they say so-and-so firebombed the newspaper office, and then the Black people went out and did the following.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Because for everything that happened over here, something happened over here. Yeah. That's why you're still in here fighting.
And that's what I keep on thinking. Unless there's proportional
damage. Yeah.
They're not going to change.
Unless it's proportional losses. And sometimes what you see is the loss is economic a lot of times. So how many times did we fight about the name Redskins?
Yeah.
As soon as you got a couple of corporate people that said, we ain't putting money into the Redskins anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we're just going to be called the Washington team. And I said, okay, anybody that's still trying to support them, boo to you. Black people that's still trying to go along with that, you're sad, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the thing. You didn't just say the Washington Indians, which would have been bad enough.
Mm-hmm.
A redskin is a head. It's the head that you cut off.
Scalp, yeah.
That is it's just the head. That's why you never see the body of the Indian, of the native, because his head has been cut off. Mm-hmm. So it's like, look, y'all, you pick up a book. Hell, you're making my work that much more difficult. Yeah. Pick up a book. Understand why if somebody was calling them spear chuckers, gollywogs, that's the hell ain't no way in the world.
Gollywogs, yeah.
Yep.
Ain't no way in the world that would be okay.
I'd say about 10, 15 years ago, I used to go to marketing survey, like a place where a guy asks you all kinds of questions. I can't remember what it's actually called.
You're talking about Frank Lutz?
Huh?
Frank Lutz?
Yeah, Frank Lutz. And he loved having me in there because I would fight back with people. And I said, would you support a team called the Washington Niggas? And I don't care if you get pissed off because I said the word. I'm allowed to say it because I'm a nigga. But support a team called, and this is conversations with Black people. And they look at me like I'm crazy. But I said, why are you walking around with a red man's head on your t-shirt and proud and ready to fight me? It's absolutely ridiculous over a sports team.
So and
the continued degradation of who we are as a people. Because if you can't see that you are the same as a Native American, then there's something so very wrong with you that I can't fix.
But the thing that Kamala Harris's elevation to vice president brought out was a whole bunch of African American animosity against immigrants. I was fighting with people on Twitter and Facebook and had idiots telling me that even though my ancestors are Black, I ain't Black because I'm Jamaican. Like, you guys are some stupid fools. You need to pick up a goddamn book. I said, you need to understand that you don't define for me who the fuck I am.
And here's the thing, what's one problem is we're not reading. Mm-hmm. We're just absolutely not reading. And there's a wealth of stuff that's coming out now that's just amazing. All right. The second thing that's troubling is that when I start going through a lot of the texts that are about Black people now, and it's great research. Most of it's not written by us.
Yeah.
All right. Third, and probably even most problematic for me, is that folks who are in the know won't write books. And so I'm always saying, you're going to have to take the time. And I'm slow. You know, I got 2 under my belt. I got 2 manuscripts I'm still working on. But it's like, you know, it takes time, but you have to push this information out, and folks have to know you can't go to a person you claim is your enemy and ask them to define what's going on with you.
Yeah.
Or within that space, because you'll always be made out to be the victim, or you're made out to be the problem. Right. It's down to you're just inept. You didn't figure it out, or someone took advantage of you because you don't know. And my thing is, nah, sometimes it's not that you don't know, it's that you outmanned and you outgunned. Can you know, but we don't have those stories, and they're not nuanced. You need to get with grandma. Some of you who, you know, I get notices about, we need to do a genealogy thing. Nah, you don't need to dig that far back. The oldest person in your house, you need to put a tape recorder in front of them and start asking them questions like, talk to me about your childhood. All right. Tell me what you did as you were growing up. You know, did you ever encounter this? And not just bad stuff. Did you tell me what you like to eat? Who was in your house when you grew up? You need to find out what was our norm, what was normal for us. We will always feel like we're missing something if Leave It to Beaver is what you watch for nostalgic TV. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, and I love watching it. Go ahead, dumb Beaver, with your crazy self. Right. I got it. But I know Beaver wasn't my reality. All right. It's fun for what it is. But Black people should have had their own shows to watch. And if they didn't have them, the shame of it now is that with the phone, you can create what's missing.
Yeah.
So
but
again, I'm not, you know how I am.
You have people doing that though.
And that's what Barrington, and that's what I said. You know how I am about stuff. I don't believe in hearing about what's missing if you're just going to tell me that and then sit on your hands. So literally pick up that phone you have, and while you videotaping any and everything else, you can have your own podcast. Go out there. I don't care if it looks rough when you first start doing it. I'm going to support it. We're out here for you. So if it's not there, you need to create it. You need to have something for your kid. I don't see cartoons for my kids. You better find somebody that can draw. All right. You better find, that's up to you, because if you're waiting for somebody else to do it, it's not going to happen.
Studio.
Right. All right. There you go. And so that's what I'm saying. You gotta, you have to get into things. We grew up at a time when programming didn't have Black people in it.
Yeah.
Or if it was Black people, I talk about the fact that I love National Lampoon stuff. I just think of white people just being simple. I love this. Okay. So you go to National Lampoon's Vacation. I said, all right, I'm with this. The first time they show a Black person, Chevy Chase goes down the wrong street. You hear gunshots. You see Black women standing there. They prostitutes. You see some pimps standing on the street. And I'm like, what the hell neighborhood is this? He goes into, and it's vice, it's shooting, it's all this other stuff. But this is supposed to be a regular Black neighborhood. I'm confused. And it's like, that was the joke. You know, they get their hubcaps taken off. They almost get robbed. There's all this other stuff. They're, you know, running from gunshots. And I said, and here's the problem. We all laughed.
Yep.
Right. We all laughed because technically the scene was quote unquote funny. But by the time I get to the end of the movie and realize there was not another single Black person in that film, you just made what I saw, and you made Blackness for any white person that was watching this, or Spanish person, or Native person, or whatever.
Asian.
You made this Blackness for them.
Yeah.
Which makes it problematic for me. All right. So those are the types of things, again, that we're trying to make sure that we're paying attention to.
Well, it is almost on the stroke of 9 o'clock.
2 hours.
I mean, this small, because Shantella and I have been on the phone 3 hours.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Phone burns out. Yep.
Phone burnout. Oh, I got to call you back. My phone is doing some crazy shit.
Right.
I've been to some of Shantella's talks and workshops.
Oh yeah.
And it's always amazing. It's always educational. Whenever you need us to promote something, do something, let us know.
Absolutely.
You know, I want to start that Saturday school. And
okay, let's start it. We know enough people.
We know enough people, and
smart people.
It doesn't matter how old you are. If we want to do stuff. Pata was mentioning that he is going to do something at a middle school.
Ernest Just Middle School.
Just Middle School in Mitchellville, in Prince George's County.
Life skills mentoring and tutoring.
And
I can teach them life skills.
And I mean, Barrington has been saying he wants to start the Barrington Salmon School of Manliness Training, and he needs to. And I've been doing digital film school for years, and I'll teach the kids how to make a movie.
I'll teach them how to write.
And
again, you always have the Acumen Group. We have Acumen Magazine. It is completely self-directed, and most of the people who provide copy are young people, ages 15 to 70. Those are still young folks. So, if you have, again, you don't have to get into any other place. We have that space for you. So the Acumen Group is there for you to make sure that you have what you need.
Please say hello to your mom for us.
Yes,
absolutely. Please. Yes, I will.
Yes, Lorna Green has a steel band group in Prince George's County and Saturday school. Those kids go into her apartment building. They gave them the community room, and they go there, they tutor them, and then they play steel drums for a couple of hours. And they're phenomenal. And it's an amazing group. So there is stuff out here for the children. I'm gonna have Faith come out there and teach them something, because Faith knows a whole lot of stuff.
She knows a whole lot of stuff. Hey, you can't run.
You're up next.
So we are very grateful that we had Shantella with. I mean, I was laughing because I purposely didn't think about any questions. It was just like, I'm just going to do it on the fly, and wherever it goes, it goes. And we see where it's been. We see where it went. We need to. I had been hoping that Miss Rona would provide the impetus for a hard reset, but I guess maybe that was too much to ask. But we as Black people, we as Africans in this country, in this hemisphere, we got to do what you've been saying. We got to stop depending on white people to tell us what to do, what we are. We got to stop depending on society. We got to make our own programs, projects, institutions that lift us up, that hold us up, and celebrate and reflect our brilliance.
Absolutely.
Because we're brilliant. And everybody else seems to know we're brilliant, but we don't.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So
more than anything, we got to get back to a point where we're loving one another and we're affirming each other every day. Today, tomorrow, before the week is out, call somebody you haven't talked to in a while and just shout them out. Tell them you love them. You're thinking about them. It counts and it matters.
I should call my ex-wife, one of my ex-wives, and tell her that.
You see, I'm not in that. I'm not touching any part of that.
I'm fine. I'm very
That's not what I told you. That's not what I said. All right. So.
They'd be like, this ain't Barrington.
Stop trying to get me in trouble. I'm not.
Barrington.
I had nothing to do with that. All right.
And Taylor told me to call you. Tell you I love you, and I'm thinking about you. Shit.
You trying to get me beat all the way up. Barrington, I need my eyes for my work. I don't need them getting scratched out, please.
No, not come from me.
I know. They're far away, so it don't matter.
Okay.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Take the time. Thank you for. Okay. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for always sparking conversation. Thank you for taking the matches out of my hand.
Thank you.
And our son he has been working for the past 10 years to develop his music career.
Beautiful.
And he has a song that he did last year. His mom said to him, you need to start writing songs with more substance, not just money and girls and cars and da-da-da. And he wrote a piece called Bald Fist. So if you guys hang around when we're done, you can hear it.
I'm gonna try to put it.
Oh, she's gonna try.
I'm gonna try right now, but I just wanted to say goodbye and say goodbye to everyone.
Thank you all for coming, but hold on for a second. Thanks, Shantella. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it worked. Is it working? It's working.
Yeah. Imagine living like a black man. Yeah. Imagine living like a black man. Yo, a black man in America. Sorta kinda like being treated just like a terrorist. Living how I'm living, it's really no comparisons. They systematically trying to kill us, now that's the scariest. I swear the numbers getting various. I'm feeling like I'm Harriet, an underground soldier for my people that I'm carrying. They killed George Floyd, now I'm trying to fill the void. This the life my brother's living, it's really hard to avoid. I keep my hoodie on for Trayvon, I do it for my day ones. Sandra Bland spoke about the path that we should stay on. I can't breathe through this nonsense, the killings coming constant. The crooked politicians is never willing to stop this. Yeah, Breonna Taylor, say her name, say it again. Breonna Taylor, say her name until we win. I pray to God daily, deliver me from my sin. Trying to start a revolution, and here is where we begin. Yeah, if you want some change, you gotta model it. What else? Yeah, speak about your feelings, never bottle it. Let's talk about it. Try to do it peaceful, shout to Kaepernick. I really hate the fact that black lives not mattering. It's time to shift the narrative, I'm switching up the pattern. Yeah, it's a pandemic and racial wars that I'm battling. Saddened by the hate and discrimination, it's real. They gave us freedom under control, knowledge, man, what's the deal? Man, who's created equal? I'm trying to find the equation. Founded on oppression, we live in this situation. New days coming, I know that my people waiting. Swear we praying for a change and my brothers is losing patience. Yeah, so I gotta live for Oscar Grant. And I gotta live for Eric Garner. Yeah. And I gotta live for Terrence Cruikshank. Yeah. Swear I gotta live for Michael Brown. Yeah. Man, I gotta live for Freddie Gray. Yeah. And I gotta live for Betty Jones. Yeah. Yeah. Swear I gotta live for Nipsey Hussle. Yeah. Swear to God that I'ma grind and put my people on.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
That's my baby.
I'm loving that. I'm loving that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You can find him on YouTube as Louis Baggs, LOUIEBAGZ. But you, my love, Shantella, tell the people how we can get in contact with you, how they can find you.
And before you do that, Andreen, we'll link you with Shantella.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. You can visit the Acumen Group at www.theacumengroup.org. You can catch me on Facebook at Doc Shantella. What is it? Twitter, also Dr. Shantella. And those of you that want to send emails, Shantella Sherman at theacumengroup.org. Again, if you have history questions, send them to me. I respond to them. I actually answer you back.
Shantella is a super nerd. That's why we love it. That's why we love each other.
Andreen is another super nerd, one of our past guests, an author, amazing woman, educator. A friend to our other super nerd, Faith Nelson. And Louis Baggs is 2 words, Dixie Ann Black. You know, all of these people that come on and watch and listen are our brain trust. You're part of our brain trust. And, you know, whatever young people, if we want to filter them through this system, they're going to learn something and keep us up. So I appreciate you. You're amazing. I love you.
Well, thank you. sending you guys love back as well. I'm always grateful and honored to be in great, mindful, great spiritual company.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank
You
you.
guys make me feel better about what I have to do.
And we pray for you all the time, and
I need it.
and we're allies, and I love you, and hey.
All right.
See you soon.
All right, guys. Be good.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was fun.